So let's start with an example, and we'll go through step by step so you can see how to apply this strategy. And as I go through this first example, I am going to think aloud as if I was sitting at my desk and going through the problem myself, and kind of explain to you what I am going through in my head so you can kind of see my thought process. The first problem is actually the one we opened with. We explained about the dog fence that we need to build. So I'm not going to write out the entire problem up here, but you recall that it was a dog fence. And, well, I'll read through it. Let's start with S. We're going to read through the problem. The problem says, let's say you just bought a dog and you need to enclose part of your backyard with a fence for him. The building code for the city and subdivision rules limit the fenced-in area to a size of 128 square feet. You want the fence to be as large as allowed with the length twice as long as the width. What dimension should the fence be? Okay, so right now we've surveyed the problem, and I'm thinking, what kind of a problem is this? I believe it's an area of a rectangle problem. So for survey, I'm going to put area of a rectangle. Now, question. It was asking me, what dimension should the fence be? So I need to find the dimensions, of the fence. Next is read. So I'm going to read the problem to gather more specific information. So let me go through here again. Okay, we know the area of the fenced in, the maximum size of the fenced in area is 128 square feet, and we want the maximum. So we know that the area is 128 square feet. And we know that the length is twice the width. And that's the information we were given. So this is all just from reading the problem and sorting out what we know. Next, we question. So let me see here. I want you to figure out what math operations should I use? What kind of problem is this going to involve? Well, I already decided it was going to be an area, and so it looks like we're going to need multiplication. So this is going to be some sort of multiplication problem, more than likely. And now we're finally going to compute the answer. So let's look at our information we're given and go through and set up two equations so we can solve. Alright, the first equation, let's see, we know the area of the rectangle is 128 square feet. So we know area equals length times width, which equals 128 square feet. And our second equation, we need, since we have two variables, we need two equations to solve. And we know that the length is twice the width. We got that from when we read and sorted out the specific information. So I know that the length equals 2w, twice the width. Now what we can do here is go ahead and substitute. So if L equals 2w, we can put in 2w in here for L. And we get 2w squared equals 128. And then I assume you can solve that. You divide by 2 and then take the square root, and you end up with w equals 8. Then we substitute that back in here. We know that the length equals twice the width. If we know the width is 8 feet, we can calculate the length. So we know length equals 2 times 8. So we get 16 for the length. And then finally we're going to question. Let's see, does this seem right? Is this a reasonable answer? Well, let me look. 16 feet by 8 feet, that seems pretty reasonable. It's not like 1,000 by 2 or something. It seems reasonable. And let's see, we knew that the area was 128 square feet, so let's use our formula for area of a rectangle, length times width, Is 8 times 16 128? Yeah. Is the width twice as much as the length? Yes. So we know our answers are 8 feet wide and 16 feet long. So those are the dimensions of the fence. So you can see how we kind of work through each of the steps, and it kind of guides us through and helps us to solve the problem and sort out the information that we need. So let me erase this, and then we're going to go ahead and do another problem together this time, and finally you'll do a problem on your own. Okay, the second problem example we have, it says if the height of a triangle is 5 inches less than the length of its base, and if the area of the triangle is 52 square inches, find the length of the base and the length of and the height. So, what's the first step we should do? Craig? Yes, we need to use our S survey, that's right. So we're going to survey it. We just read through the problem, and now we need to decide what type of problem do you think this is? A triangle, that's right. So we're dealing with the triangle, the area of a triangle. Okay, now we're going to question, what are we looking for? Melissa? Yes, the base and height of the triangle. And we'll just put B and H for base and height. Alright, next we want to read the problem and gather specific information. So let's look. The height of the triangle is 5 inches less than the length of the base. So we'll write here in words, the height is 5 inches less than B for base. And what else did we know? Johnny? That's right, the area is 52 square inches. So the area of the triangle equals 52. Alright, Matthew, what are we going to do next? That's right, we're on Q for question. So question, we have to figure out what kind of operations are we going to use. We know we're dealing with area, so we're going to want multiplication, area of a triangle. And now let's go ahead and compute. So we've really sorted out the information, now we're going to compute. Let's look at some of our information that we got here from our read step and make equations. So what is the one equation we can use? Sam? Yes, we know that the area equals 1/2 base times height for a triangle, and we know that this is equal to 52. And we also know our second equation is that the height, the base is the height plus 5, because it's 5 less than the base. So those are our two equations, and what we're going to do is substitute this into here and solve for H. And go ahead and do that on your own, and then we'll see what you get. Gabe, what did you get? You got the height is 8 and the base is 13. Who else got that answer? Okay, most of you did. Very good. That is the answer. So we have the base is equal to 13 and the height is equal to 8 inches. So let's go ahead, and are we done with this process? No, we're not done. We still have a final step. The final step is one more question. And we want to ask ourselves, is this reasonable? We need to plug it back into the equations and see if it makes sense. So let's see, if we have a base of 13 and a height of 8, let's put it back into our area formula. What's 1/2 times 13 times 8? Is that equal to 52? Yes, it is. Now the base, is that equal to the height plus 5? Is 8 plus 5 13? Yes, so we know that that checks. So you can see, I can see you guys understand how it works. I'm going to give you one more problem. You can work it on your own, and then